Ficus Ruminalis was one of the most ancient and symbolically important sacred trees in early Roman tradition, closely associated with the legendary infancy of Romulus and Remus, the twin founders of Rome, and located near the banks of the Tiber River at the foot of the Palatine Hill, not far from the marshy valley that later became the Forum Romanum. According to Roman tradition, the Ficus Ruminalis marked the place where the basket containing the abandoned infants, Romulus and Remus, came to rest after drifting downstream in the floodwaters of the Tiber, following the orders of King Amulius of Alba Longa, who had commanded that the children of Rhea Silvia, daughter of Numitor, be destroyed in order to secure his usurped throne. The fig tree stood in a region known as the Velabrum, a low-lying area between the Palatine Hill and the Capitoline Hill, which in early times was frequently flooded by the Tiber, creating marshy ground where the river's currents could deposit floating objects, such as the cradle that carried the twins. The name Ficus Ruminalis was traditionally connected with the Latin word rumis or ruma, meaning breast or teat, a linguistic association that linked the tree with the famous she-wolf who nursed the twins and provided them with life-giving milk, making the tree itself a symbol of nourishment and survival. According to early Roman writers, the twins were discovered beneath this fig tree by the shepherd Faustulus, who recognized the unusual circumstances of their survival and took them home to be raised by his wife Acca Laurentia, whose role as foster mother became another important element of the foundation legend. The presence of the tree in this story gave a precise geographical focus to the myth, anchoring the legendary events of Rome's origins to a recognizable location within the city's sacred landscape. Roman antiquarians regarded the Ficus Ruminalis as one of the oldest living monuments of the city's earliest history, and its continued existence was treated as a sign of divine favour toward Rome. Writers such as Livy and Pliny the Elder described the tree and its location, emphasising its connection with the founding generation and the miraculous preservation of Romulus and Remus. The tree was believed to have stood close to the Lupercal, a sacred cave at the base of the Palatine Hill where the she-wolf was said to have sheltered the twins. And this association made the area a focal point for the annual festival of the Lupercalia, an ancient rite connected with fertility and purification that took place each year in February. During this festival, priests known as the Luperci performed rituals that recalled the primitive pastoral world in which the twins had been raised, reinforcing the symbolic link between Rome's earliest beginnings and the natural landscape of the Palatine slopes. The fig tree itself possessed deep religious significance in Roman culture because fig trees were associated with fertility, growth, and the protective powers of nature, qualities that made the Ficus Ruminalis an especially appropriate symbol for the survival of the abandoned twins. Romans believed that sacred trees could serve as dwelling places for divine powers, and the continued vitality of the Ficus Ruminalis was interpreted as evidence that the gods watched over the city. When the tree showed signs of decay or damage, the event was sometimes regarded as an omen, requiring ritual attention, and efforts were made to preserve or replace the sacred fig so that the symbolic continuity of the site would not be broken. At some point in Roman history, another fig tree identified as the Ficus Ruminalis was said to have stood within the Forum Romanum itself, possibly transplanted or symbolically reproduced there in order to bring the sacred associations of the original tree into the political centre of the city. This tree stood near the Comitium, the traditional meeting place of the Roman assembly, and close to the statue group representing the she-wolf, with Romulus and Remus beneath her, an arrangement that visually connected Rome's legendary origins with the institutions of the Republic. The presence of the tree in this civic space suggested that Rome's political life was rooted in the same sacred traditions that had guided the founders. making the Ficus Ruminalis both a religious and a constitutional symbol. Ancient scholars sometimes debated whether the forum tree was the original Ficus Ruminalis or a later replacement, and some accounts suggested that the original tree near the Tiber had died or been destroyed while another sacred fig was planted to preserve the memory of the site. Pliny the Elder reported that when a sacred fig tree withered, Romans regarded it as a matter of public concern and replaced it with a new one grown from a cutting, ensuring that the sacred lineage of the tree continued even if the individual plant did not survive. This practice reflected the Roman tendency to preserve continuity through ritual substitution rather than allowing sacred traditions to disappear. The connection between the Ficus Ruminalis and the she-wolf also reinforced the broader symbolism of Rome's foundation myth, since the wolf represented both the wild forces of nature and the martial spirit of the Roman people, while the fig tree represented fertility and nourishment. Together with the Tiber River and the Palatine Hill, the tree formed part of a sacred geographical triad that defined the legendary birthplace of Rome. The story of Romulus and Remus thus unfolded within a landscape whose natural features became permanent elements of Roman religious memory. The Ficus Ruminalis also played a role in Roman art and literature, where it appeared as a recognizable feature of foundation scenes, depicting the discovery of the twins. Sculptures and reliefs often showed the she-wolf standing beside a fig tree whose broad leaves and branching trunk provided a visual setting for the miracle of the twins' survival. These representations helped fix the image of the sacred tree in the Roman imagination and ensured that the Ficus Ruminalis remained an enduring symbol of Rome's earliest beginnings. Over time, the exact location of the original Ficus Ruminalis became uncertain as the city expanded and the Tiber's course was modified by construction projects. But the symbolic importance of the tree continued long after its physical presence may have disappeared. Roman writers treated the tree not merely as a botanical curiosity, but as a living witness to the events that led to the foundation of Rome, linking the mythic age of Romulus and Remus with the historical city that later generations inhabited.